I thought I was prepared for the Chainsaw Man movie. I already read the manga, watched the trailer, and read every piece of information about the movie in anticipation. I thought I was going to go into that theater and watch explosions go off and chainsaws buzzing, and while I got exactly what I wanted out of that movie, I left with something more. I left with the delicate emotions of a girl who took a chance at living a life she never could. With the runtime of only 100 minutes and a screen time of even less, the team at MAPPA took an already outstanding character and perfected her. I walked into the cinema with high expectations, along with the knowledge of what would happen. But despite knowing her inevitable fate, when the movie ended, I was an absolute mess. A few months have passed since then, but I still find it constantly on my mind like a fishbone stuck in the back of my throat. I still find myself mourning a fictional character. And after all of this time, I couldn't help but wonder why Reze's story hurts so much. The premise of the Reze arc is quite simple. Denji finds a new love interest despite devoting his heart to someone else, and the love interest in question, Reze, is putting on a facade to capture him. However, Reze falls in love with him in the process, leading to her death. What makes the adaptation of Chainsaw Man's Reze arc a modern masterpiece is what the movie really is: a tragic love story. Chainsaw Man the movie Reze Arc is a romance at its core disguised as an action flick. It's a love story that just so happens to have some of the best action animation and direction anime's ever seen. As a manga reader, the Reze Arc was the first arc where I felt that Chainsaw Man truly found its identity and absolutely loved it. Coming into the anime adaptation, of course, I already knew what was going to happen, but I was tremendously surprised to see Mappa do Reze's character so much justice. I may have fallen victim to the reading comprehension devil, but I found that Tatsuki Fujimoto's characters have been expressed better than they already were in his anime adaptations, whether it be Fujino and Kiyomoto in Look Back, Himeno in Chainsaw Man's first season, and now Reze in the Reze Arc movie. Introducing a character just to kill them shortly after is absolutely nothing new, and while most would at least try to get the audience to care about them, the majority ultimately fail. What makes Reze's character so tragic and painful comes down to how her backstory is told, or rather, how it isn't. Most anime would have given us a 10-minute long flashback scene detailing every aspect of Reze's life, ending with a monologue, but Fujimoto carries the title of Fujimoto for a reason. Reze's behaviors, actions, and motivations are all almost completely shrouded in mystery up until it's time to say goodbye to her. It's only when her backstory is revealed by method of a few short sentences do we find out the truth, that Reze did love Denji, that every action and every word directed towards him was far more genuine and sincere than maybe even she knew. The two first meet when they both find shelter from the rain in a phone booth, but Reze was likely following him the whole time. She introduces herself to let his guard down, and right when it's the perfect time to incapacitate Denji, he does this.
Ta-da!
It's possible that Reze knew the Chainsaw Devil was just a kid in her assignment, but in that small interaction, something arose within her. It's not entirely clear what Reze feels towards Denji at this point, but what's certain is that she finds him interesting, offering to pay him back at the cafe she works at so she can get to know more about him. When they get there, she's laughing and flirting with Denji, something I'm sure she's done countless times to other guys to carry out her missions, but only this time, something else is there. She probably thought this would be a good time to play with her food, but as she continues to learn more about Denji, her curiosity slowly turns into something else. The motivations behind her actions are no longer that of pure obligation, but somewhere in there, a longing for something neither of them had the privilege of having. That something? A connection. A bond. Something deeply intimate and special that only forms between people who have both been unfortunate enough to experience the same hardships and tragedies. All of this is completely unbeknownst to Denji, but I also want to point out that Reze is the first female figure in his life that presents a kind of intimacy that isn't making sexual advances or just flat out assaulting or grooming him. She provides a genuine type of affection, a proper kind of romance that people their age should experience. Denji's experiences with girls up until this point have all been hypersexual, with Denji touching Power's breasts, the head of Special Division 4 coming on to Denji, manipulating him with her breast, and Himeno. Feelings of lust are what have mostly occupied Denji's mind, being a typical boy going through puberty. It's Reze's tenderness towards Denji that causes him confusion. What am I even saying? He says. It's all completely new to him. After she finds out that Denji's never been to school and can hardly read, she offers to take him to school at night, and this is where the Reze arc shines. If I had to choose any structure that's symbolic of childhood, I don't think I could come up with anything more fitting than a school. They serve as backdrops to many memories, both good and bad. The place where we make lifelong friends, go through puberty, and discover ourselves. Those years that define the majority of people's lives and identities have been robbed from Denji and Reze. The most they can do is roleplay to get some sort of semblance of normalcy in their lives, and they do just that. The time they spend together at school is sacred, like a secret that should be kept between them. A brief moment in time that will live with them for the rest of their lives. It's likely that this is the best moment of Reze's life, finally being able to experience the joys of things we take for granted, like the experience of going to school, playing in the pool, and running from the rain. And while Denji still has a long life ahead of him, this too is likely the happiest he's ever been. The pool scene is the film's centerpiece. It's a scene I always come back to whenever I think about the Reze arc and Chainsaw Man in general because it's so vulnerable and intimate. It is both beautiful and tragic. And it hurts every time I watch it because for the first time in their lives, they have freedom. Freedom from the tragedies they were born into, freedom from the system that controls them, the Soviets for Reze and public safety for Denji. For just a moment, they can forget about everything, live without worry, and experience childlike joy for the first time. I want to address the elephant in the room that they're nude in this scene. While I think a lot of the criticism towards this scene, calling it a gooner anime, are mostly satirical, I do believe that an astonishing amount of people who have this sentiment are victims of the media literacy devil. Nudity is not inherently sexual. There is nothing about this scene that is sexual and is not intended to be. As a reminder, MAPPA fully invested into Chainsaw Man so they could have full creative freedom over the adaptation, choosing to stay true to the manga and be as uncensored as possible. The only thing they ever censored was Himeno and Denji's vomit kiss scene because you literally cannot broadcast that on live Japanese television. In the Chainsaw Man manga, Reze and Denji alike are both nude, yes, but are missing details like genitalia, and in the movie, they are also not drawn that way either. Despite having full creative freedom over their adaptation and having the ability to sexualize these two characters, they opted not to, because that is not what the scene is about. Both Fujimoto and MAPPA decided not to sexualize fully naked characters at this moment. On top of this, I also want you to think about what kind of character Denji is. Again, he is a character that is often criticized for his motivations being fueled by sexual desires. Normal for a teenage boy, but a conversation and argument for another day. But regardless of people's opinions of Denji as a protagonist, it is objective and undeniable that he is a horny teenage boy. Yet, he too does not sexualize Reze in this moment. He has no thoughts of sex, he has no thoughts of making advances, and he, much like the viewer, only had his imagination running during the build-up to this moment for comedic effect. But as soon as it arrived and they were both completely naked, everything was pure. So I'll say it again, nudity is not inherently sexual. Yes, there are characters in Chainsaw Man who leverage their sexuality, but there are also characters like Reze, who despite being in her birthday suit, do not leverage their bodies or take advantage of Denji's hypersexuality. The nudity in the pool scene is a powerful tool to emphasize their sense of freedom in that moment. During the scene, we're presented with the symbolism of a butterfly caught in a spider's web, which is entirely anime original. It's a breathtaking visual that progresses over the course of their time in the pool, where a spider is shown capturing the butterfly. Upon initial glance, it seems like it's supposed to be interpreted as Denji being the butterfly and Reze as a spider. But only after the final moments in the movie do we realize that Reze is actually the butterfly. The subject of this frame is the butterfly, as the movie is ultimately about Reze. She is the one who falls in love with Denji and dies because of it. Shortly after Denji and Reze get out of the pool to escape the rain, Reze gets a cruel reality check through the unnamed hitman. The man targeting Denji struck a nerve with Reze. He unintentionally reminds her of the mission she ultimately has to carry out as he attempts to intimidate her. This moment where Reze's eye twitches is the moment where our suspicions of Reze not being the person she makes herself out to be are confirmed, as shortly after she puts a man with twice her muscle mass in a rear naked choke in a matter of seconds. The eye twitch screams volumes here. It screams unimaginably louder than its minuscule muscle movement. It's the physical manifestation of all of her trauma and suffering seeping through her calculated expression. Reze is someone who's been trained to meticulously present any emotion, yet this man interrupting that sliver of happiness cracked the guys for just a split second. After she kills him, we get this haunting shot of a plane flying overhead, as if it's calling to Reze, saying that she isn't from here, that this entire thing she's doing is complete nonsense and to get back to work. With that, Reze settles on ending things during the night festival. The montage of them hanging out gives off this romantic warmth as the two have fun together for the last time, at least as normal people. I love the feeling these candid shots of them spending time together give off. It feels like we're peeking into their lives. They don't have to do anything for anyone at that moment, like they don't even have to present to the viewer because they're just having that much fun. But of course, that moment in time is short-lived. Just before the fireworks start, Reze offers Denji something. A chance to run away from everything. To try and live the life they've been living the few days they've known each other. She can't guarantee this life for him, but she'll fight like hell for it should he accept. But after some thinking, Denji ultimately declines. Reze respects Denji's decision and gives him a goodbye kiss. Denji declining was the final thing Reze needed to hear to carry out her mission, but even when she bites off his tongue, slices his throat, and cuts his hand off, you can still see that she still loves him, giving him one last kiss. Even when they fight as Bomb and Chainsaw, there are moments where it looks like they're having fun. The Bomb and Chainsaw Devil fight is something that's deserving of its own separate video as it's a masterclass in action animation and direction, but the standout moment that applies to this video is the final showdown between the two. Reze is dead set on putting an end to things, but Denji exclaims, "Then you should have killed me when we first met," which Reze doesn't respond to and changes the subject, replying there's nowhere left to run. Denji then goes on to say that Reze shouldn't have taught him how to swim, hinting at his plan. In the split seconds right before things explode again, we see Denji in the reflection of Reze's head, preceded by her grasping towards Denji before snapping her fingers. Denji dodges the explosion, which launches him forward as he unleashes his chains. He throws out a web of chains, capturing Reze, confirming her as the butterfly we saw earlier. As they fall into the ocean, the splash from the pool appears and we get another rendition of In the Pool, titled In the Sea. Reze makes one final explosion in the water, which intentionally or unintentionally propels them towards the seafloor. I like to think that this was intentional. Reze, who's grown tired of fighting at this point and experiencing heartache and confusion from falling in love, intentionally propels the two of them to the seafloor where she can reach some sort of satisfying ending to all of this, dying with Denji, her head resting on his shoulder when they reach the seabed. After Denji and Reze wash up ashore, she questions why Denji saved her after everything that's happened. Denji says that he'd feel bad if he handed her over to public safety. After Reze asks if he would still feel the same if she tried killing him at this moment, he responds by saying, "If someone's going to kill me, then I'd rather be killed by a beautiful woman." That look on her face tells us everything. Reze, up until now, doesn't fully understand her feelings or emotions towards Denji. She tried to squash them by carrying out her mission, cutting him up and transforming, but this moment where he says that, she can't help but fall in love with him again, and she tries once more to cut things off, spewing as many lies as she can before snapping Denji's neck and walking away. Denji screams her that he'll be waiting at the cafe, with her back being the last thing he ever sees of her. This should have been the last time Reze saw Denji. She should have gone back home to Russia and been scolded by her higher-ups. She should have gone back to the life she's always lived and moved on. She should have. And yet, she didn't. As her backstory is finally revealed by Kishibe, we see Reze going on her routine walk back to the cafe as if nothing ever happened, except this time, things are a little different. Instead of her almost comically calculated walk with her arms swinging by her side, her strut is desperate. She walks not with logic, but emotion. As she inches towards the cafe, her walk turns into a run as all of the memories and feelings of love she has for Denji come flooding back to her. But of course, this movie doesn't have a happy ending. Standing in her way is the living embodiment of all the systems that continue to take, and it takes one last thing. The last Reze sees of Denji tragically mirrors his own view of her as she chooses to have her final dying sight be his back, uttering her heartbreaking last words.
デンジ君、本当はね、私も学校行ったことなかったの。
Again, those last words recontextualize her entire character, confirming her love for him. It hurts so much because those words are directed towards him, yet Denji will never know that. Denji will live the rest of his life unsure of Reze's true nature, knowing only that she never showed up to the cafe. We are the ones burdened with knowing her true feelings, yet we must hold on to that for her sake. Much like Denji, it would have been easier not knowing what happened to Reze, but now we live with it. We live with the love she had for him, with the knowledge that despite knowing that running away together was impossible, she still took the chance. Every time I find myself unintentionally pondering on the Reze arc, the wounds reopen again, feeling as fresh as they did that day. It's a testament to how brilliant Tatsuki Fujimoto is, and I couldn't be more grateful that we got such a perfect depiction of Reze in the Chainsaw Man movie. Mappa truly brought her to life with careful character animation, and Reina Ueda captured her voice and likeness perfectly. Reze's time may have been cut short, but it's her quiet courage that will continue to live in our hearts long after the story's over.